In 1942, during World War II, something big happened with tanks. The Germans introduced a super tough tank called the Tiger I. This got the Allies, like the British, pretty worried. They needed to figure out how to beat these tough German tanks. So the British came up with a clever plan. They had this super powerful gun called the 17-pounder anti-tank gun. It was better than any other guns the Allies had. They thought, hey, let's put this awesome gun on our tanks. But it wasn't that easy. They had some trouble making it fit on their tanks. They used a tank called the Sherman a lot, even though they were planning to make their own tanks. Eventually, they decided to put the 17-pounder on the Sherman, even though some people didn't like the idea at first. They called this new tank the Firefly because it had a big bright flash when it shot its gun. After some hard work, they started making these Firefly tanks in early 1944, just in time for a big event called the Normandy landings. Now this 17-pound gun was super strong. It could shoot through really thick armor on enemy tanks. Imagine a tank shooting through armor like it's paper. With special ammo, it could even shoot through almost any German tank, even from far away. But there was a catch. This special ammo wasn't very accurate, and it didn't do as much damage after it went through the armor. Plus, it was pretty rare. So even though the Firefly was great against tanks, it wasn't as good at dealing with regular stuff like buildings or infantry. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Firefly came just in time for a big battle in Normandy. By May 31st, 1944, they had 342 Fireflies ready for action. This was important because the Allies started realizing that the Germans had more tough tanks than they thought, like the Panther. But here's the twist. Most of the German tanks in Normandy weren't Panthers or Tigers. There were other tanks that the regular Sherman tanks could handle. So the Firefly was the secret weapon against the really tough tank. The Germans noticed this new threat too. They might have even told their tank crews to go after the Fireflies first, but we're not sure about that. The Firefly crews were smart. They didn't want to get picked off, so they painted the front of their long gun barrels white on the bottom or white with dark green on top. They made their tanks look like regular Shermans, which had shorter barrels. Before battles, commanders would look for good spots for the Fireflies to hide and shoot from. During battles, the Fireflies would stay back and protect the regular Shermans. They'd only move up when it was safe, and guess what? The Fireflies did some amazing things in battle. One guy, Lieutenant G.K. Henry, took out 5 Panthers with just 6 shots. Another time, Sergeant Harris destroyed 2 Panthers in no time and then 3 more later on. In another big operation, the Fireflies even took down 5 Tiger tanks and their famous German commander Michael Wittmann. This was a huge deal. In an important battle, some special tanks called Fireflies from different groups like the 1st Northamptonshire Yeomanry and the Sherbrooke Fusiliers Regiment went up against 7 tough Tiger tanks along with Panzer IV tanks and Stuke 4 assault guns. And guess what? The Fireflies did a great job and caused the other side to suffer heavy losses. You see, these Fireflies had an advantage because they were faster and more agile than the Tiger tanks. Along with another famous British tank called the Churchill, the Firefly became really well known during World War II. It was like a superhero tank because it could handle the tough German tanks and, at least on paper, could take down all German vehicles at that time. Even though the Firefly had some problems, people still think it was one of the best tanks on the Allied side during the war. Some even say that it might be the best tank for taking down other tanks. So yeah, it's pretty special. So to sum it all up, the Firefly was like a superhero tank for the British and their allies. It could take on the toughest German tanks and come out on top. And that's why it's so famous in the history of tanks during World War II. Do share your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more updates.